So I just had to take my headphones. I wasn't sure if you'd be able to still hear me with my headphones and my laptop. So anyway, so this is a new video to go along with my series of Truth About Parenting. And this week I am talking about parenting mental health, because it is a big factor when becoming a parent, and because it's such a culture shock. Obviously there's lots of things that can make you anxious and weary, and about postnatal depression, because postnatal depression is a mental health issue, and it's very common in women. Husbands can feel it too, because they can often feel helpless and not knowing what to do when somebody's got like postnatal depression. For me, I just needed someone to be there when I needed a good cry, you know. And that's what you sometimes need to do, is just have a good cry, get out of your system, write a journal, which I find really helpful, and never ignore the feelings of postnatal depression, because if you try and ignore them, the more they sink in and the more they can take charge, postnatal depression can take charge. And then the symptoms are crying a lot, feeling isolated, feeling that we're going to be, judged because we feel we're incapable, and also things like the swelling of the eye. That's what I got when I had Henry. You can start to have hair loss, and you can sort of lack iron, and iron deficiency can have a big, massive impact on your mental health after you've had a baby. And also during pregnancy. I was one of those who always knew that I wanted to be a mum one day. But really, until you become pregnant, you don't really have any idea how it's going to be. And I didn't, and I thought that I would, embrace it, which I did kind of, because I wanted to see in the whole process of it. But at the same time, I was very worried about how I would take to motherhood, the mistakes I could make, and the worst case scenario, and all the fears of, what if I end up forgetting these on a bus or train in a pushchair? The most extreme worries would creep in, and then I would reason with it, But mental health is a important subject when becoming a parent, and it's something that I would like to do, is talk to mums and new parents about mental health, to give them comfort, and also how to what more things we could do to help new parents deal with mental health, because you do kind of think when you forget a feed or something, that you're losing the plot, and you're useless, and it's not. Parenthood is parenthood. It's not something that you can naturally blend into. It's a culture shock. There's lots of things that you don't get told, like you can still have like the symptoms of being on the pill, in terms of like mood swings, hormone imbalance, your periods can become quite scatty, and I was worried because I didn't breastfeed because Henry had problems latching on, but I would express. And if you are nursing, then don't worry if you don't get your period, because and I didn't know this at all until I read up about it, because I was worried that I hadn't had a period for ages, and it was because my body was trying to adapt from not breastfeeding anymore, and then soon after you stop breastfeeding, then your periods can come back, and that's something I didn't know. until I became a mum. The other thing is, don't be afraid to delegate. We often feel that if we delegate something that we're not good at what we do, and that's not the case. If someone offers to make you a cup of tea after you've just had a baby, and even if you're a new dad, then take them up on it, because people will stop asking if you keep saying no. And your health advisor, the one lady I had was a godsend, and she was very, very comforting and very, very understanding. And so if there is things that you are worried about during your pregnancy, speak to your GP and the nurses and the midwives as you have your antenatal appointments of things that may be worrying you, because then it's good. Because that's the other thing. I do think there should be more help for new parents from pregnancy to birth with mental health, because I think, like me, I was frightened to admit it, because a lot of people say it's a sign of weakness, and it's not at all. It's just that some people it's like exercise. Some people can exercise without putting it off, and every morning get up and do weights. And there's people like me who struggle to get out of bed, before 9 o'clock. Forget about exercise. I was just trying to find my eyes on the floor, And the same with parenting. There's those who sort of naturally go with it and seem to know exactly what to do. And there's people who, like me, struggled because I kept thinking that I should know what I'm doing because I'm a woman. I'm meant to bear children, but it's not the case, We're not all Mother Teresa, because bloody hell, it would be a nicer world if we were, because then you wouldn't have to see you next Tuesdays around, because as much as you try and keep them at bay, they're always there somewhere near you, and they can affect your mental health, because you always find, this is the thing I find, as you just announce to people that you're pregnant, then come the stories, of their pregnancy and how, it was a nightmare and they had the worst birth ever. And if there are people who do that, just say to them, look, can I just stop you there? I don't want to know. I don't want to know that the baby got stuck and couldn't get out. I don't want to know. And there are those who don't mean to, but they put the fear of God in you. And if you're already anxious and going over worst case scenarios, they are the worst people to talk to. When I became pregnant, I didn't want to tell anybody until I had my 12-week scan, because it was my first pregnancy, and I was a little bit worried because I knew of, people in my life that I've met who I've known for a long time, who first child, they had miscarried, and, I lost the baby in some way. So I made the decision that I wasn't going to tell anybody that I was pregnant until a 12-week scan. And then I remembered I had a concert to go to. I was going to go to the Hard Rock Calling concert at Hyde Park, which was brilliant, by the way. Definitely want to go to. And I thought I better tell them because I do like to drink, but I didn't want to drink when I was pregnant, and I made that choice because I'm one of those people that once I get the taste of drink, I don't want to be out all night, and keep going. And so I made a conscious decision that when I had Henry, that I wouldn't touch a drop of alcohol. And at the beginning, I did have a little bit of Pim's lemonade, and I felt very guilty about that. But it was early days. But if I were to do it again, I wouldn't drink a drop, And that was that was very early on in my pregnancy. But I still wouldn't touch it, next time at all. And you know, and then I had to tell them, because I knew that if I said that I didn't want to drink, they'd be like, "What's the matter with you then?" You know, who's giving you the option to not drink? So, and I knew they would be putting pressure on me, like people do, to have a drink. So I had to tell them before my 12 week scan, because the concept was like a week or so before, that I was pregnant. So they knew that I couldn't have a drink, you know. And it was hard. One thing I would say is, don't go to a festival pregnant, because it is like an alcoholic's dream in a festival, because there's booze everywhere. You know, they even had a pins and lemonade bar in there, and a cocktail bar in there. So I was like, bloody hell. You know. And then like the two girls that I was sort of there, the concert with, then they asked me if they would make me like a non-alcoholic cocktail, and it was alright, but it was so sweet that I couldn't drink all of it in the end. I still didn't feel like I was getting some kind of compensation for not being able to have a drink, you know. So that's the other thing that I would say, if you've got mental health and you know, you're worried about, you know, being around alcohol, don't go to a music festival, because it's everywhere, literally. You know, but yeah, so, you know, mental health is very common when becoming a parent, because of the hormone, the quadruple increase of hormones. You know, I found when I was pregnant with Henry, the son, that he became very, very alive when at night time. You know, that's when I would feel him kick. And so, you know, and like you can get very paranoid about aches and pains. You know, but they don't call it childbirth for nothing. You will get aches and pains when you're pregnant. It's like it's hard to describe it until you become pregnant, what it feels like. But it's kind of like you feel like the stretching of the skin, and that sounds disgusting, doesn't it? But unless you've been pregnant, it's very hard to explain what it feels like. But basically, you know, they take over your body, and they do. You know, pregnancy should never be underestimated by any means, because it is what it is. You're growing another human inside your tummy, and you know, you're responsible for carrying that child in your tummy, and then when they come out into the big wide world. And it can be a world where you've sort of gone in blind, because even, you know, the most informative baby books can never prepare you, you know. And I always say, don't plan too much when you're expecting, because you will not know how you're going to feel until that baby arrives. And it's true. And I would just say, just go with it, and that's what I would do next time. I would probably put off for telling people that I'm pregnant for a lot longer, because, you know, there's always those people who give you their horror stories, you know, thinking that they're being, you know, enthusiastic about your pregnancy, but at the same time making you, you know, shit scared to, you know, even breathe while pregnant, you know. You know, that's one thing I would say in terms of mental health, is try and avoid, if you get people who start telling you their horror stories, just stop them dead and say, I don't want to be rude, and I know you're just you know, trying to be informative and enthusiastic about my pregnancy, but please don't talk about your horror stories, because I don't want to know, you know. And it's okay to say that, because honestly, I did not want to know, and I would also avoid watching programs like One Born Every Minute and Call a Midwife, and even though I do love that program, and 16 and Pregnant, because that can cause you anxiety. And the thing to be when pregnant is to be as relaxed as possible, you know. And so I would, you know, next time I would do meditation, because that's something that I really want to get back into, because I was doing that with the app Headspace, and it is really good. Also, mindfulness is really good. Watching programs about pregnancy, but not about the birth, but more like the different stages, so it can help you be enjoying the pregnancy and enjoying, and reading about the different stages of the child's transitions, but don't worry about too much about watching birth videos, because honestly sometimes it's good to be pregnant or do things that come with the unknown, because I was very fearful of giving birth, and I had a C-section in the end because Henry's heart rate kept dropping and mine was increasing at the time, and so they made a good call of delivering Henry. But if I were to do it again, I would say to continue exercising. Don't be put off by the fact that pregnant you can't exercise. If you're used to exercising, then you can still exercise, but just do low intensity exercises. Because I did. I tried to do. There's some really good workout DVDs for pregnant women, and I found lots on Amazon. And there's like Pilates, pregnancy Pilates, and also there are DVDs workouts for post-pregnancy as well. So do check them out, because they are worth doing. But if you are concerned, again, just speak to your head midwives and speak to your doctor, and they will advise you, on what is good for your body to still be active. Because I've got to say, because I was very active still during pregnancy in terms of exercise, it helped Henry, even though he was born premature. They said that, they even said to me that I don't know what you've been doing, but even though Henry is premature, he's very, very strong for a baby of the size he was, because he was 3 pounds and 14 ounces when he was born, so it's very tiny. And they said that, whatever you did was good, because that's what helped him thrive, even though he's born premature. And I would definitely do that again. I would definitely still exercise, because that can do wonders for your mental health when you're pregnant, very much so. The other thing is, obviously as they get older, you can have worries about weaning. Now again, I would do what I did. I asked the doctor when he had his, because you get different appointments for the different stages of their birth as well as pregnancy, and they normally have one around the 8 weeks pregnant. Now I think it's, you get the health visitor for about 2 weeks, and then in where I lived in Surrey, they had Sure Start centres, which I would take Henry to, where he would get regularly weighed. They would measure the circumference of the baby's head. They would measure the length of the child, and that's your good opportunity. If your area does have those centres where you take your baby to after you've been born, and there are things that you're worried about, now your baby's arrived, again, talk to them, because that's what they're there for, Henry had really bad eczema, and so we were forever trying different things, and it was through the speaking to the health advisors that gave us different products that we could use, and in the end we had to use steroid cream, which had to be prescribed, because steroid cream is okay, but it can leave scarring. So that's kind of like the last thing on the list, and it did work. And one thing I would say, if you're worried about bonding with your child, is to take up baby massage, because that's really good. If you're struggling with your mental health and worried about, and you're finding it hard to bond with your child, taking them to somewhere like a baby massage club, which is free. You don't have to pay for that, as long as it's a centre within your area. There is a organisation called what's it called? That do loads of classes, and I would like to put together a post-pregnancy course for mums. Just not because I think you need a qualification in parenting, just to give advice and support really to mums. But there is, I think it's called NICU, which is the normal name for premature baby, like that. It's that special care units. But there is an organisation, I will try and find it, which you do have to pay for courses, but they have courses in like baby massage. But I got it for free because it was in my area, and it was the health advisor that suggested it, because I wasn't bonding with Henry. I just found it something challenging because what I found disheartening at first, was every time I lifted Henry up, he would associate me with food, so I want to be fed. Now that is normal, but it can be very disheartening at first, because you feel like a milk machine, but that's normal, and you're not being any less of a mum by feeling that way. It's just because you've gone from someone who, like me, I would go out lots of times. I would be going to rugby every weekend. I went to Butlins. I was out most weekends, and then suddenly I was pregnant. Like I say, I went to that festival, which was brilliant, but I did enjoy it, but it wasn't the same from the previous year, because I wasn't pregnant, and I was able to drink what I want, and it can be a massive kind of like turnaround of your life. I mean, it does turn your life upside down in good ways, but but feel like negative ways as well. And the one thing that I struggled with was him. Every time I picked him up, he associated me with food. And I thought, and then the fear was that, is he not seeing me as his mum then, And the health advisor said, no, it's fine. The child knows you're his mum, but they do associate you with food because they know you produce milk, basically. So I did find that very hard at first. I felt like Daisy the cow at one point, because you do feel like a milk machine, Even though my breast milk, I had more chance of producing alcohol out of my breast than bloody breast milk, because I spoke about it before. I found it very hard with breastfeeding, and like I've said in the previous video I've done, is that I would definitely seek breastfeeding counselling next time, and read up more about increasing my milk, because it does take a long time to come through it first, and then it's kind of, and then they said you had to express 8 to 12 times a day, for it to come through. But at the same time, if you were tired or stressed, that affected my breast milk as well, which you can do, and they don't tell you that either, And I found when I had a good night's sleep, I was able to produce more milk from doing that than the instructions of expressing 8 to 12 times a day, because that is hard. You've just had a baby, which is, it's not, even a C-section isn't something to underestimate. I mean, you're giving birth to another human being, for God's sake. That is always going to take its toll, As much as it's rewarding and it's a lovely, special time, it can come with, you know, challenges and things that you think, oh, I should have known that, but you don't know. I mean, it's like I got blamed for losing the instructions to the car seat, and so we this is when because we were told literally a week ahead that we would be able to take Henry home, and it was like, shit, well, our son's room wasn't done. I'm lucky my brother was stepped in with his my sister-in-law to sort that out. But it was like, bloody hell, you know. I had a week to get a crib. I had a week to get, you know, things to, you know, spare nappies and like I didn't even think that, because I didn't think I'd have a premature baby. I didn't even have baby clothes that fit him, you know, because I assumed that he would be, you know, full term, and so I've got full term baby stuff, and I couldn't use it. So it was literally, I mean, it just happened just like that, and we were not prepared at all. You know, it just happened in the end, and honestly, that it can. I know I'm supposed to be. I am kind of like being contradictory because, you know, I'm saying about people not sharing their horror stories. I'm not coming across that way because, at the end of the day, you know, it's not pregnancy without it being a challenge, but we know that you can have good births. They're not always a nightmare. They're not always complicated. You know, you do get through it. You will adapt to it. But I'm just saying, basically, just, you know, don't worry if at first it's all kind of like tits up, you know, because, you know, you don't know what your child's going to be like. You know, when you become target number one, you know, when it comes to them grabbing stuff and chucking, you know, you will, you know, get a brick in your head and you know, a rattle smacked in your mouth, you know. You know, you know, people I spoke to who said that, you know, it's so true, because they don't know that that's wrong. They just see you as mum and they just go bonk, and the next thing you know, you've got a sore lip, you know, bleeding from when they've smacked you in the mouth with their rattle. And then there comes weaning, and you get food all over the floor and all over the walls and all over them, you know. But just don't worry about it. And that's the other thing I would say. Don't worry about the mess, because it's in their DNA, you know. Every child's been messy, you know. Expect explosions, you know, and you will get through it. Honestly, you will, because you just, in the end, you do find it just it is a gradual process that is new, is sometimes the unknown, but you do find a way of getting through it, and just enjoy your baby, you know. Just enjoy about your child. Don't worry about, you know, messy rooms, or, you know, as long as you're happy and your baby's happy, that should be the thing that you need to focus on. And I think the reason why women get such mental health problems, and dads too, is because people make out that childbirth is complicated. It's not complicated, really. I know it sounds like I'm contradictory. It's not. It's that we think that we should know what we're doing, you know, and I think we kind of don't give ourselves a credit or enough time to see that we, you know, human beings, we're not invincible at all, you know. We all have things that we struggle with, and bringing up a child is, you know, what can be one of them. And I think with social media, I think that's contributed to mental health in such a way, because it seems to be like body shaming and, You know, I knew somebody that was posting stuff on Facebook about they're losing their baby, and they were being, you know, told to take it down, and it's not. You know, people have their own perception of being a parent, and as long as your child is not going hungry, as long as your child is not got a medical issue because you've fed them the stuff that you shouldn't be feeding them, at the end of the day, as long as you are, you can sit and watch a bit of telly and with your baby, as long as you know that you've changed its bottom, and that you've cuddled him, because the one thing I would say is, have that, what do they call it? They encourage us in special care unit, where you kind of skin on skin. That is very important, because that really does help with your bond with your baby. And I would do that from birth. What did I just call it? Skin on skin, because to them it reassures your baby that you love them and that they're safe and that you're nurturing them, and that's the key things. Nurture your child, and don't think that because you're a human being that you should know which way nappy should go, or how much a formula powder you need. Just you know, and your baby will tell you if there's something they don't like. They do, and just enjoy getting to know motherhood. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, and just be true to yourself. It's okay to say that you're struggling. It's okay to say that you've got mental health issues, even when pregnant. It's okay to say that you want some time to still be with yourself. It's okay, because it is a huge life-changing event, and like everything, it comes with hurdles and dilemmas and things that no one ever tells you. So that's why I do these videos and write my parenting blog, because I want to help parents, not make their lives fearful. I just want to keep it real. And parenting isn't, parenting is parenting. It's not, people say not rocket science. It bloody is, because you don't know what your child's going to be when it is born and when they start walking. And like I say, you become target number one. Because Henry, when he first used to pick up anything, including toy bricks, he would chuck it, usually at me, but that's children for you. When you're a parent, you are the main target that they go for. And it's not them being nasty, because they know that you're the parent, and they're responding to your, they're wanting you to respond to them, like they respond to you, So, parenting is not something to underestimate, and never fear, you're not the only one who struggled, maybe struggling. Lots of us have struggled. I have. But I've got through it. My son's healthy, he's happy, he's in a safe place, he's he's come on heaps, and he did have slight development delay, but now he's just, kids will flourish if you give them time to and space to, and don't put so much pressure on yourself, and don't put so much pressure on them, and just be flexible with it. I think that's a key word when it comes to mental health and parenting, is be flexible, and don't be fearful of saying that you need help, when it comes to becoming a mum and a dad, because it is, it can be hard work, and there's nothing wrong in saying that, So, this video's gone on for ages anyway, so I hope that has helped you. like I say, never fear. Do talk to somebody if you have mental health issues and you're worried that it's going to affect your pregnancy and affect you when your child arrives. The more you talk about it, the more help you can get, and also it helps encourage other women and other men who become dads, because it's a big event for them too, as it is for yourself being a mum, and so it's okay to talk about it. So, if you'd like to share something about, a tip that you would like to give to other parents via this video, then please do leave a comment below. And if you want to visit on my site, I've got my parent site. It's called the Parenting Adventures Tips and Tricks .wordpress.com. So I'll see you next week, and I wish you a good rest of the week, and I will see you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.